The weather is an amazing thing, from thunderstorms to snow and everything in between. Unfortunately, if you're a beekeeper or anyone who just likes sunny days, the weather can be a real pain. Anyways, welcome to Dry Creek Beekeeping. And if you couldn't catch it from that intro, today I'm going to be talking about how the weather affects your hives. So what weather conditions do you need to beekeep then? Ideally, you need temperatures between 65 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit, any weather that isn't rain, and low wind speeds. But in reality, it's a bit more complex than that, as your beekeeping practices need to change from season to season along with the weather. Bees are pretty temperamental creatures and can become irate, sick, and die whenever anything inconveniences them. Which means that winter, which is inconvenient for everything on this planet, is by far the most dangerous time for bees. Early winter, once the temperatures drop below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you have to make sure that your hives have good stores and population to survive the winter for however long it may be for you. For me personally, it's about 4 to 6 months, but if you're further south, it may be as short as a few weeks. In winters up north, it can be really dangerous about midwinter with extremely cold temperatures, freezing the bees inside their boxes, and snow blocking the entrances, killing all the bees inside as well. However, late winter going into spring is by far the most dangerous time for the bees, as they will have low food stores, the temperatures will be fluctuating greatly, and the winter bees will be turning over into the spring bees, so your hive will have the lowest population at any point in the year. Also, moisture buildup in your hives can cause fungal infections and chalk brood. So, how do you check to make sure your hives are doing fine during the winter since you can't really beekeep during winter? Well, what I do is I go up to my hives, I tap on the side, make sure they are buzzing inside, and sometimes if it's a decently warm day, I'll take a peek under the lid or clear out the entrance from dead bees. I actually made a video on how to do this. Link to that will be in the description. But if your bees can survive this, they are almost in the clear. That is, if they can survive spring. So now it's spring. Just because it's spring though, that doesn't mean you can get back to beekeeping just like normal. A general rule of thumb is to not take any frames out of your boxes until it's about 70 degrees outside, because doing so will kill the brood. But until then, there are still things that you can do, since so long as it's above freezing, you can take the lid off your hive. Once it hits consistently 50 degrees Fahrenheit, you should start feeding your hives 1 to 2 parts sugar water. But make sure not to feed them before it's too warm, as this can cause dysentery in bees. Also, make sure not to feed them too much, or this can actually set your hive's progress back, as they will be filling the frames that are for brood with the sugar water, and it may cause swarming. At this time of year, you can also start feeding them pollen to boost brood production. However, this can also cause swarming, so you're going to want to be careful about that. And of course, during spring, there's also that risk for starvation, freezing, and diseases, as well as moisture buildup. Once your hives are strong and there are abundant flowers, you can finally relax, at least a little bit, because now it's summer. Summer is really the only time of year that's a little bit relaxing for beekeeping, because there's only a few things that you have to watch out for, those being heat, rain, wind, and of course the ever-present threat of diseases. But for this section, I'm going to focus solely on heat because that's the most dangerous part about summer. In some places, heat will never really be a huge issue. Like for me, it rarely gets up past 91 degrees Fahrenheit. However, in the south, you do have to worry about the heat, because bees have to keep the hive at around 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and if they don't do this, then the brood will die and the queen may stop laying eggs, which would cause your hive to weaken. Sometimes on extremely hot days, you may see bees bearding on the outside of the hive and fanning their wings to cool down the hive. Or you may see increased activity in the hive or in extreme cases, the wax inside the hive melting. If you see this, there are a few things that you can do to combat it. First, make sure they have a source of water nearby. If this means that you have to make a bee watering pool, then that's what you have to do. And then if you do have to make it, make sure that it stays full of water at all times. If that doesn't work, then try putting your bees in the shade, or take a frame out of the hive to increase ventilation through the hive. Also, you can prepare in advance by painting your hives a light color, as this cools the hive. What makes summer really bad, however, is the fact that it doesn't just affect the bees, but also the beekeeper. The high temperatures combined with wearing a full bee suit can easily cause heat stroke. And I myself have almost had heat stroke while beekeeping, and it is not fun. So if it's going to be a really hot day, then try to avoid beekeeping for your own sake. Thankfully, you won't have to worry about that for too long, because before too long, it will be fall. As far as the weather is concerned, is also pretty simple for beekeeping. All you really have to do is watch out for cold days, and that's really about it. But you also have to contend with your bees preparing for winter, the ever-present threat of diseases, and swarming. Also, you're going to have to start preparing for winter, whatever that may mean for you. I personally put my hives in a tent and then say goodbye to them until it's spring. Something that is very annoying to do is look at those crappy weather apps on your phone to try to figure out what days that you can beekeep. They simply don't give you enough information to figure out what time and what day that is ideal for beekeeping. Weather Underground used to have this great feature that let you figure out what days are the ideal days to figure out whether to do certain things, including beekeeping. Unfortunately, they made it so you have to pay for this feature. Since then, I've been looking for an app that replaces this feature, and just recently, I may have found it. And I think I finally found it, so I thought I'd mention it. The app is called InspectNext, and it is a free iOS and Android app that analyzes the weather to determine the best days to beekeep. And the settings are customizable on it too. Also, it has an hourly 15-day forecast, so that way you can not only find the best day to beekeep, but also the best time. This app is awesome, and I absolutely recommend that you download it. So links to download it are in the description. Well, that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, if you have any questions about beekeeping or just have something to say, feel free to leave a comment. And I'll see you guys in the next video.